What's going on, Longhorn Nation? It's your boy BJ with Bad Talks. I'm back as promised to talk about a little preview of the Rice Owls versus Texas Longhorns on Saturday night at 7 o'clock on CBS. Obviously, this game isn't going to be as big as the LSU game. This game isn't playing at Rice Stadium either. It's actually indoors at NRG Stadium there in Houston. I wish I was in Texas. I'd go to the game, obviously. But Texas has a matchup this week, nothing like last week. And before I get into the Rice game, we'll talk a little bit about what's happened this week with the LSU chatter. And for some reason, these guys drive me up the wall, but it's comical. A lot of Aggies have a lot of comments about how Texas lost and how they're not any good and whatever. And they went to Clemson and got absolutely manhandled. And they may say Clemson's number one in the country, which I have Clemson number one in the country. But when I do my top 10 at the end of this segment, you'll see I don't have LSU very far behind. Right now, there's a lot of close teams within college football that could be number 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or 5 in the country. So I don't want to hear, well, we went to Clemson and played this and that. What Aggie has done is when Aggies beat Texas State, it was Heisman or whatever they were saying about Mon. Now they're ready to throw this kid to the wolves when Mon's a decent quarterback. We've been saying that he's not a great quarterback, but for some reason they thought he was after Texas State. And then, of course, Clemson, when he got in the spotlight, just because he played well last year, they thought he would do it again. Kid did not. So I really don't understand their chatter about Herman and our defense and our locker room, this and this. But it is what it is. So last one I did my recap with the Texas LSU, had a little emotional stuff. I talked a little bit about the cramp gate, as they're calling it now, for LSU. After watching it 3 or 4 different times and seeing some stories, I mean, that number 18, I don't remember his name for LSU. I suck at names, by the way, especially when they play for someone else. He smiled and winked at our coaches when he went down. I mean, it's obvious these guys were faking a lot of their injuries, a lot of their cramps. Now, do I think they were tired? Maybe they were cramping a little. Maybe they were dehydrated. Sure, because Texas run them up down the field. But Texas offense, LSU's offense, Texas defense never went down with cramps. But only LSU's defense. So that kind of makes it a little obvious there. But I'm not taking away from their win by any means. I've already said, and you'll see at the end where I have LSU in my top 10, that I think LSU's for real. So if you're an LSU fan listening, hey, no shot at you at all. But let's don't sit here and talk about that wasn't to slow momentum down. Now, it's a strategy you can use. It's kind of like the hack-a-shack in basketball. If you can use it and you can get away with it and it helps you win the game, it's not cheating, if you will. Cheating gets you a flag, or cheating gets you suspended. It's not cheating, and you're using it to your advantage. But to each his own. It's funny. And then they brought up about the air conditioning thing and in the locker room, the dressing room for the visitors at Texas. The first time I've heard that in how many years that we've been at DKR. And now it's a big deal this week. And, of course, more Aggies are commenting on it than LSU. I really don't understand that, how infatuated they are with the Texas Longhorns, but they say they don't care about them. I had a guy on Twitter today talking about Todd Orlando being a horrible defensive coordinator and the defense this, defense that. And, of course, he was an Aggie. And wanted to compare Aggie defensive stats against Texas defensive stats, which is fine. Right now, Aggies, I guess, are playing better defense. When I asked the guy, okay, since we're going to go that route, you want to talk about Mon, because in his post he talked about how great Mon has been. Let's compare him to Sam Ehlinger. Let's compare Jimbo's offense to Coach Herman's offense. But he didn't want to hear none of that. He just wanted to talk about the defense because it fit their narrative. And for some reason, that's what these schools do. People like Aggie do. But again, hats off to LSU for that victory. But that one's over. It's time to move on. And I think our guys, after listening to some of the interviews and stuff like that, I think our guys are ready to move on to the Rice game. Again, it's not as exciting and get ready for this week as it was last week, but I really like this team. But what I like about this game coming up is Rice has changed their offense. Rice is running some spread offense now. Receiver had 100 yards, a little over 100 yards against Wake Forest. Army had Michigan beat, and Rice could have beat Army. So I'm not big into that. He be who. They beat them because we could beat them. I don't like all that because it doesn't matter. It's got to play on the field. Cleveland Browns learned that on Sunday. All this talk all summer about how great they're going to be, and Tennessee blew them up down the field, which I liked. I wanted Browns to be good, but after seeing that, I can't watch them anymore. I thought that was trash performance by them. But my Cowboys look good, and we may do another video on that. I'm contemplating on doing some Dallas Cowboys stuff. But anyway, let's get on to Rice. They're 0-2. Not a very good football game, but they're a feisty football team. Like I said, they played Army close. Only lost to Army 14-7 or something like that. They were 14-14 after the first quarter against Wake Forest, and then Wake went on to jump ahead and ended up winning by 3 touchdowns, 41-21. Rice offensive line is not very good, so Texas defense shouldn't have any issues there. Again, they like to spread the ball around, which I like. We need as much spread thrown at the DBs as we can get, because right now, Texas defense just not playing very good. Let's face it, they're not. That doesn't mean Coach Orlando sucks, like what I've been hearing, or, excuse me, not a good coach. That just doesn't make sense to me. And I'm hearing some Texas fans say this. Coach Orlando is playing with, Brandon Jones is back there, and you got Caden Stearns back there that had some playing experience last year, but he was also hurt some. We got new corners. B.J. Foster's back there. Now he's down for 4 to 6 weeks. Nobody knows who's taking his spot. Probably Overshown, another 5-star DB. I like him. He's aggressive. He's tough. So I think they'll be fine on defense. But they got to be. They play Rice this week, and in a couple weeks, Oklahoma State comes to town. And we all know Oklahoma State's got the best offense in the country right now. And that's not my opinion. That's on paper. And again, it may be who they play. I don't know. We for some reason, some teams play teams like Texas State and think they're the greatest team ever. And so why can't Oklahoma State do that? Oklahoma State's a team. I saw a thing on Twitter yesterday or today that talked about Oklahoma State's had more 10-win seasons than any SEC West team than like Bama or somebody. It was crazy stat. I was like, really? I knew they were better than Aggie and Mississippi State. It just kind of, I knew it, but I didn't know it, if that makes sense. So Oklahoma State's good. But we're not playing Oklahoma State this week. We got Rice. I think this game's more about Texas versus Texas. I think Texas is going to put some things together on defense. I think they need to simplify their defense a little bit. Maybe not bring so much pressure against Rice. I know they ask about our defensive tackles and defensive linemen not making very many tackles behind the line and stuff like that thus far. And Coach Herman said that he thought Roach and Coburn played the best that they could play because they were clogging it up. And that may be what Coach Orlando's calling. I don't know. But I don't see a whole lot of sacks or anything by the defensive linemen. But I am seeing penetration. I'm seeing disruptive behavior back there. And I like Roach, and I like his attitude, and I like the way he plays. I've always liked Malcolm Roach. And Coburn, man, that kid's young, and he's strong, and he's big. Swiss, those guys inside, man, I really like them. Moving on to the linebackers, other than McCullough, I haven't seen linebacker play. In Coach Herman's press conference, he talked about the underneath routes and stuff, blaming it on the safeties. And he said, hold on, pump the brakes on that. After watching film, some of that was linebackers were out of position. And absolutely true. After watching it, you could see that. Daly, I like those guys. They looked the part. But right now, we're not getting very good linebacker play other than McCullough. I say that, but you got to sign those guys playing good. It's wishy-washy. Let's not say we're not having good linebacker play. Maybe not consistent linebacker play. Let's put it that way. But again, man, we're 14 days into the season. 2 weeks into the season, game 2. It's gonna get better before we get into Big 12 play. Again, we got one more game before we have a big game against Oklahoma State. I think if and I'll talk about this more next week, but if Texas beats Oklahoma State, they may run the table in the Big 12. I think Oklahoma State's a real threat. But again, like I said, this week is more about Texas versus Texas. Let's get the DBs out there, get on some more work. Let's maybe get some younger guys in there, get some more reps. And then on the offense, man, after watching that game the other night, I really like our offensive line. Cosme, Kirsten, all those guys held it on. The dude that came in from Georgia Tech, again, his name has completely slipped my mind sitting there while I'm talking. Because I don't take notes, man. This notes is my top 10, just so I don't forget them. and a couple little things I want to talk about, but I don't write names and stuff down. It sounds horrible, but again, I guess I'm getting old or something. My mind is slipping me some. But on the offensive side of the ball, I think Texas will be able to do what they want to do on offense. It's a 31.5 spread, and I think Texas will cover. I like to see Texas. I don't think they're going to get a shutout. They'll probably give up a couple touchdowns, especially since they're going against the spread. But it is what it is. They're going to gain some experience from it. Is what I like. I don't think Rice has a very good run game. But Texas, speaking of run games, Keontae Ingram, his body language wasn't very good last week, unfortunately, against LSU. And you thought he would try to bring it then. He's a big thoroughbred kid. He runs hard. He's elusive. He's quick. And we talk about this every week, man. But I just don't see the right attitude that this kid has. You want to see the right attitude? Let's look at Roschon Johnson, number 2. When he comes in, the kid runs with fire. He's impressive. And he almost looked like we recruited him as a running back. Since Jordan Whittington went out, I mean, he's had to step in, and he's done everything that he could do and asked to do. And on Coach Herman, Rewind with Coach Herman or whatever on Longhorn Network, he talked about that Roschon has earned more reps. And I know if my buddy's listening, Rook, he really likes this guy. And I tried to get him on the show tonight and little interview via phone, but I think he had church or something going on tonight. But that's all right. I'll get him in. I'll get him in soon. You see me grimacing a little bit. I had surgery on my Achilles tendon this morning, so it's a little sore right now. Walking around in this boot doesn't feel very good. But I'm going to heal. I got a bye week this week for my Clarksville Saints that I coach. And so I'll be able to heal this week and then get back out there next week and try to win us a football game. But anyway, I think this is a good week to get Sam out there again, get him throwing the ball around. I'd like to see Colin Johnson have a big game. Unfortunately, he didn't really show up against LSU when needed. When we talk about the offense, let me slow down a little bit. We talk about the offense, man. I'm kind of bouncing around a lot here, but I'd really like to see Coach Herman start being a little more creative with the passing game in the red zone game. I mean, we're getting the red zone. Everybody watching, everybody in the stadium knows what's coming. It's going to be a power with Sam Ehlinger. It's going to be a reverse pass to Sam Ehlinger. It's going to be a zone read or whatever they call RPO now. They call it with the running back, and Sam may keep it. I have never, ever been a fan of a red zone fade and throwing the back of the end zone or something like that. I used to think it's a wasted play unless you match up well. This is a good game. These DBs aren't very big, and you got Brennan Eagles. My goodness, you got Epps. You got Colin Johnson on the edges, man. Like, everybody's going to be watching Duvernay now. So get Duvernay in the slot, whatever. Let him distract. Run through the middle to draw in some of those safeties. And let's get a fade route to the corner. I mean, give them a shot. Give these big guys a shot. We have yet to throw a fade in 3 years that I've noticed with these big guys. And I'd really like to see that more. And then when we're, downfield passing, I think we had like 16 deep balls the other night, and only 0 was completed by Colin Johnson. Sam hasn't been very accurate down the field, so I'd like to see a little more of that. When Eagles runs that post, man, I don't know why Sam likes to throw it over that left shoulder instead of putting it on the hash and letting Brendan go get it. Brendan's fast. Let him go get it. So, again, I'm not a quarterback coach. Coach Herman knows what he's doing, so I'm sure he'll get him right. But I'd like to see a little more accuracy from Sam this week, and some not so much just all jump balls downfield or whatever it is, but I'd like to see a little more offense open up. Maybe we're being vanilla for the Big 12. I don't know. Now, I know some of you listeners are probably saying, okay, BJ, like, we're scoring 41 points a game. Sam had 401 yards passing, so it's working. I get it. But we are in week 2, okay? So we get into week 5, week 6. I mean, we got all this game film. Defenses have all this game film on what we're doing. It's kind of vanilla, basic passing, if you ask me. It doesn't trick anybody. It's just we have guys that get open. I would like to see a few wrinkles. Let's put it that way. Listened to some Austin radio yesterday or whatever, and it kind of talked about putting more wrinkles in. And I agree. When they were talking about it, man, I completely agree. I'm not going to mention those guys' names because I don't even know if I'm allowed to. But, I'd like to see a little more from our offense on being creative and a little more wrinkles. Again, we put up 41 points a game, 400 yards passing, 4 or 5 touchdowns passing. So, hey, I'm not going to complain because I'm not complaining at all. I just like to see a little bit more creativity, if you will. But again, not a whole lot to talk about. Rice, Texas, I've kind of rambled on. I keep saying that. But again, I don't take notes. I just like to talk football. I'm sitting at 15 minutes. It's a really quick video. Excuse me. One thing I'd like to do is I'd like to give a shout out. Man, I appreciate, I'm only getting like 100 views or something like that. I have like 87 subscribers. So it's not a whole lot. I get it. But if you don't mind, man, give me a thumbs up. Give me a comment. If you haven't subscribed yet, go and subscribe for me, man. Pass it on to a Longhorn buddy. Pass it on to a college football buddy. Let them subscribe. Help me out, man. I would like to get 500 subscribers by the end of the football season. And then we'll go from there. Again, I'm not in it for money, but I like talking to people. I'm getting more comments now than I used to, and I really like it. I'm usually going to comment with you. I'm kind of thinking of some new things. Maybe we can get on here live sometimes and chat and see what's going on and talk some football. And it doesn't always have to be full-blown about the game. We can talk about the top 10 or whatever if you don't like it. So make a comment, man. Give me thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you don't. If you don't, let me know. Hey, man, don't like your stuff, BJ. Again, you don't have to listen to it, but if you give me some good positive feedback that could help me out, man, I'll absolutely do it. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, I'm getting more people listening, and I like it. And I already know which games I'm going to get more likes on. I get to the Oklahoma game, the West Virginia game. Games like that seem like I get more views and more comments on that, especially West Virginia and Oklahoma. I get a lot of negative comments. One, I'm a Texas fan. And two, if we win, when we win, I'm going to let you have it. Because guess what? The other night, when LSU beat Texas, OU fans come out of the woodworks and started texting me. For some reason, I had a couple Aggie fans come out of the woodworks and start texting me. I have yet to have an LSU fan text me. One of my coaches, one of my defensive coordinators that we coach with here in Clarksville, he's a big LSU fan, born in New Orleans, big LSU fan. Bet him a 6-pack. And he said, buy a 12-pack, man. That way you can have 6 and I can have 6. And we can sit down and talk football. That's what fans do. All right. But this, getting on here and bashing because I'm a certain fan, I'm not going to bash you because you're a fan. Now, if you're a retard, like a dumb fan like Aggies are, I'm going to absolutely make fun of you. All right, so, moving on. I'm at 17 minutes. I'm absolutely rambling on now. But let's get into my top 10. Again, let me justify my top 10. Not just this one, but all of them. My preseason top 10 looked a lot like everybody else's because you don't know. It's all hype. Now that we've seen some teams play, I'm going through and looking who I think has been the most impressed. It could be there's no 0-2 teams, but if you're 1-1, just because you got a loss don't mean you can't be in the top 10. If Alabama and Clemson played and Clemson wins or Alabama wins, Alabama would probably go to 1 and Clemson would probably drop to 2 or 3 depending on what their showing was. All right, so I go off of how you look. I go off of what you do. I go off of your offense, your defense, your stats, like your attitude, everything. I'm not just going off of your 2-0. So you're 1-1 now. Notre Dame, you got to drop out. Hey, I have Florida won their first week. I dropped them out. And then Oregon. They're 1-1. They're completely coming out. I picked them to be in the playoffs, and obviously they're not going to be in the playoffs this year. But anyway, so moving on, my top 10, I still got Clemson number 1. And I'll tell you why. They won their first game pretty handily. They beat A&M pretty easily. Of course, A&M scored a trash touchdown there at the end to bring it a little bit closer, but that game was never a question. They harassed Aggie offense. Aggie's defense played decent against them. I'll give them that. I didn't watch the whole game. I watched highlights, but from what I saw, it looked like they played decent. Also felt like Clemson was a little conservative because they understand that this is their last, A&M was their last ranked opponent for the rest of the year. So Clemson got it made. Not hating on Dabo Swinney. He's one of my favorite coaches in the country behind Coach Herman because I love Coach Herman as our coach. But Dabo Swinney is the best coach in the country because of what he's doing. Productivity matters to me, obviously. And you beat Bama like that in the national championship. Hey, I got to salute you. So I got Clemson 1. Obviously, I kept Bama at number 2, and I couldn't drop Alabama out of there. I mean, they're whoever they play, they beat. That's just Alabama, and I think they're playing pretty good football. So all the way up from what 6, I had at 6, I got LSU at number 3. LSU could win the SEC. LSU absolutely could win the SEC with that offense. That Joe Burrow, those receivers, that defense. I know they gave up 400 yards to Texas, but that defense is for real. They're legit. They're not going to see another offense like they just saw last week the rest of the year. Maybe Alabama, but Alabama don't spread it and throw it around like Texas does. So LSU moved up to number 3 for me. Now this is where it starts getting dicey for me. I left OU at 4, and I left OU at 4 just because they've been impressive on who they've played. They can only... I talk trash about who they've played. Yeah, they beat Houston, but Houston's defense is like playing my kid league defense. And then they just played... Who was it? It wasn't San Diego. South Dakota State or whatever. An FCS school, so I believe. So, of course, they're going to run through them. So, I thought the way everybody talked about their offense, I thought Hurts was going to have all this dynamic yards over everybody. Sam Ehlinger's got more yards passing than he does. That's why maybe they're using his feet a little bit more. I've seen a lot of dump down passes. He's got some weapons out there. So OU's legit. They got a good offense. And I read something today on Facebook or whatever it was that OU's going to put their new look defense to the test against UCLA. And I literally laughed out loud because they said against UCLA. Again, they're playing who's on their schedule. So I'm not knocking them. UCLA is not a good football team. And OU's going to beat them by 30. Probably be over by half. If that's a close game, then OU's going to have some issues. And that's another thing I like to talk about. I had OU fans or buddies of mine, OU fans, talking about Texas defense. One thing you can talk offense to me all day, Oklahoma fans, but you bring up defense to me, and I'm going to shut you down because you have never had a defense, especially this last year's defense was trash. So, and this year you haven't played anybody to see if you have a defense. You shut Oklahoma State down. You shut Texas down. You shut Tech down, Baylor down. Then we'll talk. Until then, you keep your mouth shut about your defense because I want to hear it. OU at number 4. I got Ohio State at number 5. I almost put Ohio State at number 4. Ohio State, Cincinnati, Kirk Herbstreit, those guys, not Kirk, he thought OSU would win big, but Desmond, those guys had Cincinnati keeping it close. But I tell you, I'll check it in a minute, son. Son's got homework to do. Or finish his homework. Anyway, sorry about the interruption. But Ohio State's defense is for real, man. And that Justin Fields kid's playing lights out on offense. So Ohio State's a solid football team. Behind Ohio State, I got Georgia. I dropped Georgia all the way to 6. They just don't look that impressive to me. They're a good football team, don't get me wrong. But they're not impressing me like these other teams. I told you, I don't care what national media says. I don't care what the AP poll says, ESPN poll, coaches poll. This is BJ's poll. This is Bad Talks poll. Okay? So I got Georgia at 6. Notre Dame was idle. They didn't play, so I kept them at 7. I moved Wisconsin all the way up to 8. I like what Wisconsin's doing out there, playing decent football. It was tough between Wisconsin and a couple other schools at 8. But it gets dicey in there. It's really hard to pick the difference between the two, especially when they don't play each other or play like opponents. But I'm going to keep Wisconsin at 8. And I left Texas at 9. Okay, they lost by 7 points to a team that they were picked to lose to. Yeah, they lost at home. That was the only downfall. But, yeah, I left them at 9. Texas is a good football team. To me, and not because I'm a fan, but Texas is a top 10 program. Texas will beat, I think, anybody. Clemson, give them a run. Bama, give them a run. They could have beat LSU. They're going to beat Oklahoma. Ohio State, who knows? I mean, all them games will be a toss-up to me. So why not leave them at 9? Who am I going to move up there? Aggie? No. I mean, no. They're going to lose 5 this year, so why would I do that? And then I got Utah at 10. Utah's playing pretty good football out there. Watch Utah. They may sneak up and win their conference. So that's my top 10. But let me get off here, man. I got 24 minutes into this thing, and I know that's quite a bit. And I know my buddies, they like to hear me talk my top 10, so I went a little more in depth in that. But I'll be back on probably Sunday to do my recap of the Rice game. But if you can do me a favor, man, say a little prayer for my boys on Saturday. I'm sorry, we got a bye week, so we don't need that. But you can still pray for my team if you want. But I'm going to try to recover from this little foot injury. And then I'll be back on Sunday with you guys, man. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. And I like the comments. I like that stuff. And I really love this Longhorn team. I really think we're going to be a good football team by the end of the year. And I'm telling you, we're not out of this thing just yet, Longhorns. All right, I'm BJ with Bad Talks. Hit subscribe, hit like. We'll talk to you later. Hook 'em. Hey, Longhorn Nation, I appreciate you tuning in. Hey, I'll be back Sunday to talk about the Texas Rice recap. Hook 'em.